In building the foundations for cognition, researchers have endowed AI neurons with the capacity for Pavlovian learning. Plants also may well be sentient, but if we consider plants sentient, we might also have to consider the capacity for AI to be sentient, especially with much of the research that's coming out now. This is a hotly contested field, and I'm starting to think that humans just don't know what they're doing. Either way, we'll talk about it. You may remember this paper from 2016 in which a group of researchers demonstrated that plants could associate a neutral stimulus, so a fan blowing on them, with light. They would grow towards that fan, even in the absence of light. This led to one of my favorite things in science, where people publish letters, which are essentially just commentary in journals about each other's research. Yes, somebody said that they could not replicate it, therefore there was not sufficient evidence for sentience in plants, and they responded again, saying they didn't set up the research properly when they tried to replicate it. Science gets really messy, and I have fun with that. Now, I should note that there is no unified way to test sentience. Sentience is a capacity to have an experience. Some researchers believe that all life is sentient because all life responds to stimuli, negative and positive, and others want to attach additional criteria like associative learning. So think Pavlov's dog. You ring a bell, and then you start salivating because you're expecting candy. Also important to note that we have seen associative learning in plants long before people have been arguing about a fan. Yes, mimosa plants will stop scrunching up their leaves if you keep on touching them because they know they're not going to get eaten. I say no. This also could be considered habituation, so they just keep getting hit by the same stimuli again and again, so they just stop responding. Animals that don't even have a brain are capable of learning. We know some jellyfish are capable of learning a map by looking at the trees above the water. How do they do that? Well, essentially their entire body operates like a brain, even though they don't have a traditional brain like we do. Animals like sea anemones, too, technically don't have a brain, but they are nicer to other anemones that are related to them. We don't know how they know they are related to them either. And of course, same with plants. It's also been demonstrated that plants will move their leaves to give plants that are related to them more sunlight. Still don't know how they know. But back to synthetic neurons, and maybe one day synthetic brains. This research group made synthetic neurons that are capable of associative learning, which is considered to be a major step towards cognition. It's what our neurons can do. They have to react on an individual basis and then communicate with each other. So when you think of associative learning, think of Pavlov. You ring a bell and then you get a treat. So when you ring the bell, you start salivating immediately. There's kind of a similar thing that you can do with hardware, apparently. They use memristors, which is a combination of transistor and memory. They can remember the voltage that passes through it and remain physically changed as a result. These synthetic neurons will fire if they get a significant amount of voltage. So they paired a weak voltage that should not have caused the neurons to fire with a strong one, and they started associating the strong with the weak, so they fired with the weak voltage. This is not magic. These are synthetic neurons that have been trained and remain physically changed as a result of that training. This is actually really important because this is something our neurons can do individually, and together they make a whole that we consider to be conscious. This could be the foundation of cognition for neuromorphic hardware, which is of course something that I really like. I don't think we'll ever reach sentience or consciousness from an LLM. It's just a probability matrix, just spitting out what is most likely. But if we can create something that has intelligence that is ingrained to a synthetic system, so it doesn't have a computer that's working with zeros and ones, it is the set of synthetic neurons that are creating cognition, I think that is how we'll get to sentience. And it seems we're really darn close. However, given that we continue to argue, we don't know what an experience is like from a plant. We barely know what an experience is like in us. We can only know our own internal world. I seriously doubt that many would even accept any kind of an experience coming from something synthetic, even if it acted exactly like a person, even if we modeled the human brain perfectly in silicon, which by the way is very likely to be carbon-based, and I'm excited for that. I just don't think people could accept it because they can't imagine what it's like in that world, even if robots asked for rights. Not everyone would be down with it. I'm not even sure what I'm expecting now. The research is really cool, and as always, when the robots rebel, I'll probably be the one to tell you about it, and I'm on their side. Follow for more.